Good afternoon. I would like to call the delayed regular April meeting of the Nantucket Memorial Airport Commission to order. And would like, as the first announcement, to say that our May meeting is actually not going to be on the regular date in May. It is going to be on May 11th at 5 p.m. in this room. 6?
May 6th? No.
May 11th at 6.
At 6.
At 6, oh, because for the same reason. All right. That's all for announcements, I think. The next order of business is, the meeting is being audio and video recorded. I'm sorry. I'll start again. Okay. My apologies. The meeting is being both audio and video recorded, and I would like to announce that the May meeting will be held on Thursday, May 11th at 6 p.m. in this room because some of us cannot be here or be present on the regular meeting date of the 9th. Are there any comments on the agenda? Hearing none, they are approved. Minutes, the draft minutes of March 14th, are there any additions or corrections?
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Thank you. Because Ms. Planzer is not in the room, each of our votes will be a roll call vote. Mr. I'm drawing a blank.
Ms. Guerin?
Ms. Guerin, thank you.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Topham, aye. Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo, and the chair votes aye.
Let me tip this nameplate.
No, I thought she said Gasparo, and so she confused me.
We're only here to help.
That's right, it's my hearing's going too. My apologies. May I have a motion to ratify the warrants of March 22nd and April 5th?
So moved.
Second.
How do you vote, Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Some eagle-eyed person may have noticed that the minutes of the meeting for annual town meeting in 2016 have been eliminated from the agenda, and there are no minutes from 2017, and that is because I am told by town council that if the commission acts, which it did and did not do in either year, it does not require a posted meeting. There's an exception to the law on posting of meetings that if you have a commission has a meeting, has to make a decision during town meeting, it does not have to be a posted meeting. All right, we will return to our public hearing, which we opened at the last time on April 11th. To consider proposed revisions to parking rates and charges. But before I open the public hearing, Mr. Don Barrett, Senior Vice President of Republic Parking, and Mr. Roger Weisenbeck, Regional Manager of Republic Parking, are here. And Mr. Barrett's going to give us a presentation on the proposed parking program. Would you step up to that mic, please, and identify yourself?
Good evening. My name is Don Barrett. I'm Senior Vice President with Republic Parking System. We were one of the companies that submitted a proposal for the RFP. We were one of the companies that submitted a proposal for the RFP for the paid parking operation. What we would like to do is just give you a little background on us as a company, where we come from, how long we've been in the parking business, and then a little bit about a brief overview about the plan that we think is the best fit for Nantucket Airport. Republic has been in business since 1966. Our company was founded on the belief that small, mid-sized airports were underserved in the parking industry. And back in the 60s, there weren't a lot of paid parking at airports, so our founder, James Berry, decided that he was going to create a company called Air Terminal Parking, and he went out and actively sought the small, mid-sized airport market and negotiated deals, was a very entrepreneurial gentleman, and was very successful in it. We've grown today. We operate over 70 airports across the country. We are not the largest, but we are the largest in North America. There's one other company that tends to buy up other companies that somehow keeps gaining market share on us. What we've done over the course of our time is we go to the airport markets and we say, hey, this is what we think will work in yours. There's a saying in the airport industry that if you've been to one airport, and Tom's probably heard this many times, if you've been to one airport, you've been to one airport. They're not all the same. So what we try to do through the proposal and the RFP process is develop a plan that works for Nantucket. It may not work over in Hyannis. It may not work in New Bedford. We think what we've developed in our proposal works for Nantucket and will. Go ahead. This is just a map of all the airports that we were at. The red dots are the airports. The blue dots are the urban locations. One that's not on there, which is kind of hard to tell because of the geography that Mass has, is our urban division just signed a contract with MBTA. So we're pretty confident that we know what we're doing when it comes to parking. Our goals were to implement a new parking plan here at Nantucket that was cost effective to the airport, that provided a revenue return, to eliminate the high maintenance costs that you currently have with your existing system, and to take the operation of a parking facility away from the airport staff. We're in the airport parking business because we're pretty good at it. You're in the airport business because you're good at running airports. Sometimes those two don't overlap. So our solution to the problem was to install what are called Luke 2 machines, which are multi-space payment machines. So we strategized where to put these machines throughout the parking facility and inside the terminal. And we came up with the fact that we think 6 machines will serve the needs of all the public that are utilizing the airport. We propose putting 2 in the long-term lot, 2 in what we're calling the short-term lot, and 1 in each of the locations where you have existing pay stations inside the terminals now. The way these machines work is every space in the parking lot is numbered. So a patron who parks in one of those spots, they go up to any one of the 6 machines, they put in the space number that their vehicle's at, and then it brings down a drop-down screen and says, how long would you like to park? 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 days. Enter in the amount of days you want to be there. You put it in. It calculates the fee based on what's set by the airport and the airport commission. They satisfy the fee by credit card or cash at the 2 terminals inside the station. They get a receipt, and they go on their trip. One of the nuances of our system, which is different than other pay stations, is we don't require the customer to return to their vehicle and put that slip back on their dash. They can take it away. They don't need it. We don't need it for enforcement purposes. Our enforcement officers go around the lot periodically throughout every day, and they check, make sure that everybody is paid. If someone hasn't been paid, then they are issued a citation notice that says, hey, you didn't pay. Please log on to this website, pay the citation, and pay the amount of parking that you have due at this point in time.
Who did they pay, you or the airport?
Well, the money, if they pay online, it goes through a system which automatically is transferred into the airport's account if the money goes into the airport's account. Unlike,
What if someone doesn't have an iPhone? What do they do then?
well, they don't have to have an iPhone. If they have a web browser, then there's a phone number on the citation, so they can call us and give us payment on the phone. They can mail it in.
Computer or
Yeah.
phone?
Yeah, they can mail it in. They can go online and pay it. They can, there's several different ways.
If they mail it in, does it go to you, does it go to us, or does it go to the Plymouth parking clerk, whatever it is?
No, all the money that is collected through the program goes into the parking program's account, whether or not that be with the airport or whether or not it be a Republic account.
Thank you.
All the penalty fees or non-payment citation fees, those all get remitted back to the airport. None of that is held by Republic. The other thing that we're doing is at each one of the 4, because there's 6 machines, but there's only 4 locations for the machines, we're installing video IP cameras and video IP intercoms so that are monitored 24 hours a day at a call center that's located in our home office in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So anytime anyone walks up to that machine and hits the button, they're going to get a live person, whether or not there's someone physically on site or not. There was some questions about the machines that we recommended putting. We recommend the Loop 2 machines. They're probably the best parking pay station machines in the industry. They're throughout the country. They're manufactured in Canada, so they're used to adverse climates. We use them in Great Falls, Montana, Anchorage, Alaska, all the way through down to the Keys. So environmentally, they're very rugged.
They do survive salt.
They survive salt, yes. They're designed, they're not like the machines you have today, which have a lot of moving parts and mechanisms. There's no moving parts in this other than the receipt printer. And so the keypad is just a regular keypad. The display is a display. If that goes bad, then we pull it out, get another one, and put it in. That's also one of the reasons why we wanted 6 machines, because we need the redundancy in the lots. If one of them does have a broken display and we're waiting for the part to come in, we have another machine right there. If we need to pull a part out of one of those machines and put it in one of the terminal machines, we can do that also. These parts are, they're readily available. You'll see these machines everywhere in Boston and everywhere in, I think, as I was told, everywhere in America. I think I kind of went through this. The customer's going to pull into the lot after this program is implemented. They're not going to get a token like they do now. There's not going to be a gate at the entrance or a gate at the exit. They're going to pull into one of the spots. They'll see the signs that we've recommended putting throughout the parking lot that say, remember your stall number, pay at the pay station. They go to any one of the pay stations, they put their stall number in and they pay. That's it, they're done. The whole process of that takes approximately 20 seconds for them to handle the transaction. The other option that they have is a mobile app. I think there were some questions about that. It's called Park Mobile. If they don't want to go to the pay station and they have downloaded the Park Mobile parking app, which there's signs at the pay stations and throughout also, then they can go, when they go in, they launch their app on their phones, iPhone or Android, and they say, it recognizes through the GPS that they're at Nantucket Airport. So they can say, oh, I want to pay for parking. They put their stall number in, they say how many days are going to be gone, just like the pay station, and they can pay that method. The benefit of the Park Mobile is at the end of the parking stay, it sends them an alert that says, hey, your parking stay is almost up. If you want to extend, you can extend. If you're done with your parking stay, you're done with your parking stay. The enforcement side of it. This is our person that goes around and checks all the stalls. We use a citation system called MCS, Municipal Citation Solutions, and a handheld unit, which is using BATS, vehicle ticketing system. They walk around to the parking lot. They say, okay, this spot is occupied and it's been paid. They move on to the next spot. This spot is occupied and it doesn't have a payment on it. So then they issue a citation for that. They put it on the windshield. The next day, if the car is still there, the citation gets updated. So now instead of 1 day's worth of parking, they owe 2 days worth of parking. The citations, like I said, they have a website that they can go to pay. They have a phone number that they can mail, that they can call if they have a question about the citation. And they have an address if they just want to mail the payment in. MCS is certified in Mass DOT to do vehicle searches and to send those letters out. We do it, like say, with MDOT.
What is the collection rate typically on those?
The collection rate is usually between 80 and 90%. And then that other 20 to 10%, we usually recommend, depending on the dollar value of it, sending it to a traditional collection company. Now, they take a fee off of that. Everything done through MCS, there's no fee taken off of that. So the $20 payment penalty goes to the airport.
Is there a tie-in so that if they have not paid their fine, basically, that their registration is not
Yeah, I believe through MCS, through their enforcement side of our window, that they can do a registration stop, but I do need to verify that.
Don, how do you handle out-of-state plates, other states?
We were talking about this today with the staff. There are only 5 states that MCS cannot actively search records for. And out of those 5, we have a third-party company that there's a small, they charge, I think, $1.50 a plate, that they can search in those states, as long as we're doing it for a government organization like an airport.
Any other questions?
The call center, I think we went over this. Each of the 4 pay stations locations will have an intercom and a video screen. This is actually a picture of the call center in Chattanooga. They currently monitor about 25 different locations, so adding one more to them doesn't overburden anybody there. At different times of their day, we'll have more than one person in there, but that's they can assist with various things. So where have we installed the location? We've done this type of operation at an airport, at 6 different airports. I've listed them up there for you. The most similar to what I would consider a Nantucket is a Hilton Head and an Eagle Vale. They're both very tourism driven. The number of emplanements, while it is huge, does not equate to what we would consider a traditional parking lot, because usually we track emplanements and parking revenue hand in hand. But because of the tourist factor that you have here, your emplanements to parking revenue is going to be less than, say, Syracuse, New York.
Hyannis, you service Hyannis Airport.
Correct.
Barnstable County Airport. They do not use this system, correct?
Correct.
They use
They use what we call a traditional cashier model.
Can you tell us why, what they've elected to do that instead of this?
We have been operating the parking in Hyannis for, many years. We just signed another 5-year extension, but we've been operating it probably for 15 years prior to that. When they built their new terminal and their new parking, the demand at that time was such that this model didn't fit for them. They were seasonal, just like you are. They are seasonal, just like you are. But because of the activity that they had, and the fact that they have a lot of people driving to Hyannis to get on the plane to come here, they have more of a parking demand, and the model that fit best for them was a traditional parking operation. Now, I'll tell you, I met with the airport director this morning, and we are looking to pull away from that a little bit, just because of with the loss of air service that they've seen, much like you guys have. Supporting that additional labor in that parking booth for 16 to 18 hours a day is getting harder and harder and harder for everybody.
Did you contemplate having somebody digitally checking whether cars have overstayed their...
No, we will have a physical person on site patrolling the
I
lot.
saw your contract has basically payment for one person,
Yeah,
maybe 2 part-timers.
yeah,
And would they be here year-round or most of the summer?
yeah, year round. We're
Really?
looking for a person year round. Now, in the off season, well, in the peak season, we may do 3 patrols of the lot a day,
Right.
one late morning, one late afternoon, and one in the evening.
Right.
In the peak, or in the off season, we may only do 2 patrols of the lot
Yeah.
a day.
Pretty quiet out there right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, and maybe what will end up happening is we'll say, well, we really don't even need to do 2 in the off season. We only need to do 1.
Right.
Because it's what we consider a direct reimbursable expense. It's on us to go to you and say, look, Tom, we don't need 2 patrols a day. We're going to pull the hours back from, I think we had budgeted 3 to 4 hours in the off season. We only need 2 hours of labor,
Right.
which will be a cost savings to the airport.
Okay.
So this is a real part-time job for somebody, at least
Yeah.
in the off-season.
Correct.
I assume you vary the times.
Yeah. Well, we look at the flight schedule, and as the flight schedules change, then we change the enforcement time. So, one of the concerns is if I'm, trying to beat the system, and I know that the enforcement person comes at 10 o'clock every day, well, I'm just going to park at 8, and I'm going to move my car before they come at 10. That way I won't get a ticket. Or I'll let them come, and if I'm in the short-term lot and there's 2 hours free parking, I'll let them, come and do their patrol because I know I'm not going to get a ticket on the first pass because they're going to wait for the 2 hours to elapse. So then I'll go move my car. So there's ways that people will try and beat the system. And being in the parking industry for over 20 years, it doesn't matter what kind of system you have, people are going to try and beat it one way or another. Our
The question
goal,
is, how successful are they going to be?
yeah, our goal is to minimize that leakage that the airport might see.
I have a couple comments.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Today I parked in a parking lot with exactly the same configuration, and it had the exact same machine as this one, the Luke one.
Yes.
It was my first time ever using it. It was super easy to use. It was clear. It was, I really liked it. Put my credit card in, and I really liked it. Easy. Also, I have that Artmobile app. I already have that, and I used it for several years in DC. And I really like it. I like the alerts it gives you when you're getting down to your time. You can add time. All that. I like them both.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I just have one question about, and I don't know if this is the right time or not to bring it up, about the placement of the machines in the lot. Do you have that slide? These are sort of, these are the two stations, right? And these will each have two, what are the blue dots here?
Those are the proposed locations of the signs that are to the left there.
Okay.
That would instruct the customer to remember the parking spot number.
I'm just wondering, since most of the people are headed either out here or out here, wouldn't it be better to have these two stations over here and maybe a single unit over here for people who are using the FBO? Just something to think about. And I don't know what it would add to the cost or anything else, but I think, for the,
Maybe something for the FBO, but I think the majority of the flow is still in the main door of the terminal for ticketing.
right, which is over here.
It's kind of between the red box.
This is the restaurant, and this is the main flow for the terminal. Believe me, I know.
I mean, the machines could be shifted to the right or to the left. And, we could, at some point, the machines, all the machines have for connectivity is electric. The intercoms and the cameras require a communication network, a fiber optic network. So if we decided that, we really, in the long-term lot, the one machine is sufficient for the demand, or in the short-term lot, one machine is sufficient for the demand because you have two other machines in the terminal, you can physically, you can just unbolt the machine and you could move it into the FBO. Our goal was to stay.
No, I'm not talking about in the FBO, I'm talking about in this corner,
Okay.
across from where they go from the parking lot into the FBO. It's just a thought to put on the,
Do the FBO customers traditionally park in the parking lot, or
Some
do they
do.
park at the FBO?
some do.
Because I was
other-
going under the assumption that most of those have parking or.
Well, the other issue is that we haven't really talked about is that people's caretakers come and leave their cars there in the lot for the owner to pick up whenever they arrive. So they may take the car in at 8 o'clock in the morning and pick it up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever. So, anyway, these are things that we need to think about. All right, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Bear. I'm going to reopen the public hearing now and ask for any additional comments. There was a sheet, I believe, is it not true, Ms. Torres, that there's a sheet in the back which summarizes the comments from last time, which isn't to say they can't be made again, but hopefully if they are made again, they'll be kept short. And so, again, you all know, I think you were all here, you all know the drill. To come up to the microphone and identify yourself. Mr. O'Hara.
I know I spoke at the last meeting. My name's Roger Levesque, General Manager of Nantucket Island Rent-A-Car. But you just talked about something that I had completely forgotten about, the FBO. You only allow 4 spaces, and on a Saturday and 8 to 12 Saturdays in the season, there's not enough spaces there, and we put the rental cars in that last area. Like you were talking about the maintenance people for the homes. We do that also. And Hertz does it the most. You could have 30 or 40 cars on a Saturday that need to go out FPO. You've seen the number of planes there. The second thing.
Yeah, that's, okay. The issue is whether that's where they should be parked or there's someplace else they should be parked further down in the lot.
True,
Yeah.
But you only allow 4 spaces.
I understand.
Yeah. The second issue is, as we discussed the last time, I just wanted to know if anyone had any questions on the staging. I know you had some questions and I answered them, but if anyone else did, because that's a very, very important issue to the customers of the airport. 8 to 12 Saturdays, there's 300 cars that are turned over, and we need that back space.
But you need it for, as you said to me, about 10 to 15 cars in total.
10 or 15 cars may be left there over the 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have any questions, please ask them. And this is an important issue to all the rental car companies. The third thing is, I heard the gentleman talk, how do you handle if you are going to vote to have 1 hour or 2 hour or 3 hour parking, how do the people handle that? They just don't go to the pay terminal?
You want to address that, Mr. Barrett, please?
Yes, if someone is going to be, if the rates are set.
Would you stand at the microphone, please?
If the rates are set so that 2 hours is free in one or both of the lots or all of the lots, then those customers do not need to go to the payment kiosk. If they go to the payment kiosk and say, I'm only going to be here for 2 hours, it's going to tell them that there's no payment necessary.
Okay.
So the rates will be posted, at the payment kiosk. So if they're under 2 hours, there's no action needed by them. What happens from an enforcement standpoint is when our people go through the lot, if they see a vehicle that hasn't been paid and it's in an area that's designated for 2 hours free parking, say there's just a short term is 2 hours free, what they do is they take the handheld unit and they do what's called a digital chalk. It's kind of like, going down the road and you're chalking the tires, but they just do it with a handheld. They said, okay, the car in space 3, I'm chalking it. And then they get an alert that says, hey, 2 hours is up. Go see if that car's still there. If it's there, you might need to issue it a citation.
Thank you. And the last thing, since the last meeting, I've had the opportunity to interview 2 young ladies that I need to hire. And both of them are familiar with the new parking, and I don't know how the people talk. And they said that they wouldn't come to work, and we know how hard it is to find people. They wouldn't come to work unless we paid for their parking. And another part of that is I've had 2 employees saying that we have to pay for their parking or they're going to leave me. So this has become a big issue. I've heard it from one other company in the airport as well. So I hope that the members of the board will consider something for employee parking. It's very difficult to get good people here on Nantucket. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levesque. Anybody else? Mr. Shale?
Christopher Skehel, the Castle Group, Crosswinds Restaurant. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm standing here sort of perplexed for the situation that we're in. I believe the budget of the airport is around about $30 million a year.
I beg your pardon?
I believe the budget of the airport is around about $30 million a year.
No, sir.
How much is it?
It's about 13 million.
13. Sorry, my apologies. And we're talking here about what sort of monies are we going to be generating? Has anybody done that?
We have.
Yeah, we have.
And how much is that?
Yep.
And how much is that?
I believe it was in the 150,000.
So we're talking about something that's going to generate $150,000 a year. Let's just do this. Let's say it's $10 a parking spot. How many parking spots do we have at the airport?
I apologize, that was not 150. I think it's
No,
closer.
double that.
Yeah, it was
Double
300.
that.
300, yeah, 350.
This is going to generate $350,000 for the airport. I've got to ask you, how much of that money is going to be labored upon the local community that uses the airport as a facility for the...
Well, the other option is,
Excuse me.
excuse me, just because you were arguing the point with Mr. Rafter, I'm going to make a point to you, which is that, if the airport needs revenues to cover its operating expenses, and parking is one of the places it gets revenues from. We don't make a lot of money.
I totally understand that the
Yeah.
airport needs revenue, okay? I do business at the airport, so I understand. I don't understand how enforcing a fee, a charge upon a customer to encourage, who you need to encourage to come to an airport, is going to encourage that customer to come to the airport. It's the old adage, you're going to strangle the small chicken that comes to the airport once in a while, which is what is happening. You're not offering anything to a customer to come to the airport. I've been to a couple of meetings, unfortunately, where the airport manager has represented the airport and yourself, and I've seen, the thing is, we've got to produce customers for the airport. This is not producing customers for the airport. This is strangling a few customers that already come to the airport, which will therefore diminish the amount of customers that come to the airport, just like it happened when it first started. I'm not against charging for parking by any stretch of the imagination. I'm here to try and ask you, how is this going to encourage customers to come to the airport?
Mr. Gasparo?
I actually am quite pleased with this plan, and I have been a bit of a critic of the current parking system for quite some time. And one of my main concerns has been, I've felt for a long time that the front lot should be ungated, that we should try to remove hurdles, if you will, to the customers for the restaurant, for the gift shop, for picking up and dropping off people. And I feel this actually does help. And now that we're not going to have a gate that is a burden to people to come and go, and then it doesn't work. And one of the main concerns that I had was just addressed with respect to that, and it was raised during the public comment. Look, if somebody just wants to come to the restaurant, so they have to go through all of this, that seemed overly burdensome. And the fact that there is, for that, whatever that we decide that first grace period will be, we're talking now the 2 hours, and someone wants to come, they actually have to do less than they have to do right now. So I see that as a bit of a positive and a win. I think that the revised rate structures are also going towards the goal that you've stated. In other words, trying to facilitate the ease of use of coming to the airport, reducing that overnight fee, fixing that 7-day fee, all while getting rid of what has been a troubling system. I would say the one thing that I want to have further discussion with the commission and understand is simply the contract cost associated with doing this, as opposed to, having done it ourselves, and fully understanding what is the reimbursable expenses and what is the overall cost of doing this. But in terms of trying to help the flying public and the public, I do see this as an improvement. So I guess, and I hadn't made up my mind, to be honest with you, because I've really wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to then, become overly burdensome to be able to come and go, and I think this eases it. So I guess that was my comments.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. My apologies, as I'm standing here, I'm still talking. I am not here solely for Crosswinds Restaurant. I'm here because I obviously am a leaseholder, but I'm here because I actually live on Nantucket, and I've lived here for 30 years. And I've seen, and I pass out emplanements. The numbers the emplanements that have decreased is absolutely phenomenal. And the reason why I'm talking is I'm saying to these guys, what's happened to the airport?
Well, that's easy.
It's a very simple answer to that
Yeah.
question.
2 fast boats.
But
Three fast boats.
They built a business. They've serviced the business. And I'm not here to argue, guys.
We have no.
I'm not here to argue. I'm just talking with you.
But I think you need to understand, and the public needs to understand, and this is as good a time as any
That's right, yeah.
to make it clear that we have no control over who services this airport from an airline standpoint and how much they charge.
Absolutely.
And so
I totally understand that.
we still have to provide the infrastructure. We still have to provide the airport.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting. I'm not, don't hold me to this exactly, but commercial service provides something less than 20% of our revenues, and excluding fuel, 80% of our costs.
Absolutely. It's very interesting that you said that, Mr. Drake. Thanks very much. I was going to ask that question because what it actually looks like from afar, from a bystander of an airport, from a bystander of a business, is that this particular part of the business, and I think a lot of people on Nantucket don't understand this particular part of the business, a part of the airport model that we have on Nantucket, the terminal generates a very small amount of money for the airport.
And that's why.
And this for you is a pain in the keister, for want of a better word. And I can understand that. But what we've got to understand is, as a community, maybe the community doesn't realize that this particular part of the airport income is a minuscule amount of money in comparison to what the airport controls and manages. As you
Well,
just mentioned.
no, I don't think that's quite right.
You just said 20%.
Just, Dan, if I
Sorry.
may,
Yeah.
Just a
industry standard is that public parking in an airport is the second highest next to landing fees in revenue generation. We're not there. We need to get at least close to number 5.
Like I said, I'm not talking about public parking. I'm just talking about the terminal, as Mr. Drake.
Well,
just
no,
said.
we're talking now, we're here to talk about parking. And
That's
so
correct. So I'm just saying to us, what is it that we are doing? And I'm not against public park. I'm not against charging for parking. I'm just here as asking the board questions as are we doing the right thing to encourage people to come to the airport? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last chance. I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the commissioners. What's your pleasure, folks? I'm sorry, Larry, you had your chance. I'm sorry. You had your chance.
So,
It's my understanding that we set the rates pretty much here.
That's
Our board
correct.
does, and we had a discussion about rates. I've talked to a few people around the airport, people who are employed there, and it seems to me that they want to make sure that they're able to park there, especially the person that's making $14 an hour and lugging bags or checking people in or whatever. Mostly it's summertime employment, but also year-round employees don't want to pay anything for parking. Now, our own people park in the GA lot. It's on. You hear that? You good, okay?
Talk into it.
I'm just saying there is a plea, I think, or a feeling among the people that work at the airport that they don't want to pay for parking. I understand.
Nobody wants to pay for
I
parking.
understand that. I understand that. I'm just saying, either we ask their employers to pay for their parking privileges, which has been something we've talked about, but essentially asking someone that's making $14 an hour to pay, $100 a year to park there, especially when they're only working 2 or 3 months, that's kind of a question mark in my view.
I believe there's a monthly rate for that as well, just for
Okay.
clarification. I don't disagree with your comments.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at this correctly, the monthly rate is $200. Is that what I'm looking at here?
No, airport tenant employees right below that.
Sorry.
$30 a month.
All right.
10 or 30, there were 2
All right,
proposals
okay.
on the table. It's $1 a day, basically.
Right, yeah, that makes some sense.
Now, having said that, I personally would rather see us, I think, it has to be policed and monitored and so forth, and I think that a charge is fair, but on the other hand, I called the manager at the Barnstable Airport today, and they do not charge.
Right.
So that's,
And of course, enforcing a dollar-a-day fee, it gets to be not worth the enforcement cost, whatever that might be, or rate change, or these parking people have to deal with that in some fashion. I think the simplest rate structure we get is the best.
what happens at some of the other airports that you service?
Nothing against Bud.
Mr. Barrett?
Mr. Barrett, nothing against Bud, but we've told him before that he needs to charge for parking also for his employees. Most airports charge a nominal fee for either tenant employees, and they also have what we call the non-base flight crew. From an enforcement standpoint, we would issue a placard, whether or not the employees are charged or not charged. We would issue the employees a placard to park within the employee parking lot. Our enforcement agents, when they patrol the public lots, they would also patrol the employee lots. The reason that they do that is not to try and get the employee and give them a citation. It's to keep the general public out of their lot because they need their spaces within their employee lot. There aren't gates on the employee lot. There's not a whole lot to prevent someone from pulling in there unknowingly and parking by mistake.
Or intentionally?
Or intentionally.
How about that?
How do we differentiate between employee and public? I mean, do we have a certain area where employees park?
Now they actually park in the FBO lot, don't they?
Yeah, the employee parking is in front of the FBO.
Okay. And is that enough room for all?
Well, I mean, you've heard Mr. Levesque's plea for more space for rental cars in that lot.
I mean,
And frankly, to me, it makes more sense to put the rental cars there and put the employees in the back of the,
And
Long-term
understand that some of these fees may not necessarily be revenue generators per se, but they're control mechanisms. And as Mr. Barrett said earlier, you know, there's a lot of ways to beat systems. There's one fellow who wrote a book about 1,000 ways to beat airport parking. The folks that know how to beat the system are the employees. It's a control mechanism as well.
I'm thinking if we're losing parking because the employees are taking it, then we're not going to be generating that much money. I think
We
a
have,
monthly fee of $10 or $30 is not that great for, I'm understanding $14 an hour is not a lot of money either. But $10 or $30 is not for the company to pay possibly if they want their employees.
Now, are we voting on rates and charges tonight or not?
we are planning to, but yeah.
Okay, good.
We are planning to, yes.
And while we're at it, then I do have a problem in charging at all with May 15th to October 15th for the first few hours. I think we'll just discourage, and I'm going to put Crosswinds as the place that I think people would be discouraged from, because why would I go in? I'm going to buy my breakfast, and now we're going to pay parking. And, I mean, I'd like to see it 2.5 hours, but at 2 hours you're in and out possibly, so I just don't think that any of that should be charged. That's-
Any other comments? Mr. Gasparo?
I'm in agreement. I would like to see a year-round blanket. It's the first couple hours is free. I don't like the idea of a seasonal charge. People that come to use the restaurant or to pick up and drop off people, we want to get back to, I agree with that. That should be facilitating the use of the airport. And so I wouldn't favor that. And the other one I think I would like to have a discussion about is the monthly, the employee charge. And we have 2 rates there for our consideration. And I would favor the lower of the 2.
And just one other comment. We are sometimes in the dead of winter, we have no restaurants or hardly very many that are open. Crosswinds, to the best of my knowledge, is open all year long, 3 meals a day, and I just think that for us to charge for people to go in there, it's going to discourage people from going in there. So,
if I may, just, I believe there's one other thing that should be considered, discussed. We have here, I guess, $4 or $6 for 2 to 4 hours, so We're just going to need to give clear direction on that.
Well, I think the first thing we have to decide is how long, whether the grace period is 2 hours or, as some have suggested, 2.5 or 3.
Seems to me 2 hours is enough to go in and get a scrambled egg and a cup of coffee, or even for dinner. Yeah.
I'm in agreement with that, too. I like the 2 hours free.
And then,
Yeah,
Time does no
Mr.
charging, so-
Scale wants to say something.
Just a heads up, and I totally agree with everybody. The fact that charging somebody for the first 3 to 4 hours of parking is 3 hours for many people to go to that restaurant is not a long time. I never thought about it other than standing here last time that I was talking, and I thought, you know what? And there was a lovely young lady up here that walked down here. She reminded me, the majority of the customers that go to the restaurant, it's your restaurant, just so happens I'm on the lease, but it's your restaurant. The majority of the customers that go to that restaurant are elderly people. They're great regulars, they're great locals, and they go there and it's a night out or it's a lunch out or so on and so forth. Now, somebody pointed out to me, sometimes you have to wait 45 minutes to get in there. Then you have to sit down for 45 minutes, an hour and a half. So 3 hours is not unreasonable to be expected to sometimes. And people that actually go out there frequently on a weekly basis, which is what we've encouraged, they go out there at 6 o'clock and they're still there at 9:30. They have a night out of it. I was in the restaurant business at the Club Car, 2 hours, 15 minutes, getting people in, getting people out. That was a fine-tuned machine, and that's what they wanted. They wanted people to come and go as quick as possible. That's not what Crosswinds Restaurant does. Crosswinds Restaurant is open 365 days a year for the community. When we took over that restaurant, we have built it for the community. You can obviously see that by the prices that are there with the community involved. So I think if you're going to put for want of a better word, an additional tax on the customer, it's not going to do your restaurant any good. So 3 hours at a minimum.
Thank you. You've made
4
your
hours.
point. You've made your point. Thank you.
We probably make most of our money on the parking in the summertime.
Right.
And the lot's empty in the wintertime. So we could do 3 hours in the wintertime without any reduction in income pretty easily, I would think. In the summertime, I have a question about that. I think maybe 2 hours in the summertime would be better.
I like that.
My only thinking on that is it worth the having to change the signs on a seasonal basis and deal with that versus just having, people are going to get used to sort of an understanding of time. I'm not particularly opposed to 3 hours. If that, I don't know that there's that much difference between the 2 to the 3. I would be interested to hear if from the folks in the parking, through you, Mr. Chairman, perhaps if they had any opinion in terms of impact of revenue of such a move.
Please, Mr. Barrett.
Tom provided us with some statistical data on length of stay and stuff. It was, as far as part of the RFP process. Whether or not you give 2 hours free or 3 hours free, the revenue difference there it's not measurable based on what we have, because right now the first up to midnight is free.
Right.
But traditionally, the 2 to 3 hour window in a short-term parking lot, if you extend it to the 3 hour window, it's not significant enough. And if it helps the customers that are using the restaurant, I don't see why you wouldn't do it. And to your point, the machines can be configured to auto key in these rates if the airport decides they want to do 2 hours free in the summertime during April to October and then kick it to 3 hours in the off season. That's just a programming thing. They can put it in there and it'll turn over every year. Signing, the rate signs will be within the parking lot, so those could be changed. But is that hour worth it to do those sign changes every year, to have
I don't think
taking
so.
down
I
and
don't
putting
think
up?
so either.
The other thing I do want to ask, and excuse me, the 2 hours or 3 hours free parking is in the short-term front lot, correct? It's not within the long-term lot? Is that what we're
It's always free in
considering?
the back lot, isn't it?
Well, I mean, this is what we have to decide.
Yeah.
Don't you have to always get a token to get to the back lot?
No, there are no tokens under the new system.
Oh, okay, I wasn't talking about the new system, I was talking about now.
Now, yes, you do, but,
Yeah, so.
I mean, the back lot under this schedule is, the first 2 hours are free in the summer,
well, this is when we were talking about charging for the first 2 hours or 4 hours in the front lot.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say the first 3 hours free, year-round, keep it simple.
In the, yeah,
On the front lot.
Yeah, in the front lot.
Front lot only.
Why differentiate the lots?
I mean, in that case, you probably don't have to.
Right?
I-
I mean,
Yeah, I'd rather keep it simple.
Well, I think in the proposed rate structure, it said that the long-term lot was $9, well, and this, I know that they're still up for consideration. The long-term lot was a 1 daily rate, and if someone were to park in the short-term lot, it was a different daily rate, 9 and 12, I believe.
Yeah, I like that, though. I like the differentiation because they can charge more for the front lot. And you get more revenue that way. If it's all $9, then that's all you're getting.
Now, here's my one, as a parking operator, my one concern about that. Your clientele that you have at this airport, $12 is not an expensive amount for them. You give 3 hours free parking in the front lot, charge $12. The people that can afford it are going to fill up the $12 spaces. Then where's your free 2 hours of parking or free 3 hours of parking?
that's,
Well, but if
Just for clarification, I believe we were talking about 8 and 14.
well, okay, but the point is,
What happens when those are
Yeah,
full?
they fill up.
right,
Look, is it a problem to do a grace period of 2 or 3 hours in the entire system?
No, it is not.
No, and that's what we're talking
Because we
about.
have plenty capacity, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just seems that the water will find its own level that way. To me. And again, now you have to, I'm trying to think of making this also easy for the customer to understand.
Consistent.
And you're starting to say, oh, well, up here is this and back there is that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if we could, again, one of the things I really want to make sure is that there's no more abuses in that front area for employee parking and things that have been happening for past practice, right? That needs to be taken care of. And that if it's, I'm not sure I see a real benefit or justification to try to change seasonally or differentiate the lots. I just feel like the simpler system is better. And I will support the 3 hours.
I guess my reaction is, the logic is there, but I'm with you on the simplicity side of it. The logic,
for a small
the
incremental,
logic makes sense, but I do think, I mean, I think we've got to vote on a number of these items separately. And then, at the moment, obviously, the number of free hours that needs to be voted on. I think, I understand the consensus to be that it will apply to front and back lot,
Right.
that there will not be any, so, but we do need to vote on the number of hours of free.
I'll make the motion.
Well, hang on just a second. May I just go through these different things? Because I think we need to perhaps vote on them separately rather than all as one thing. We need to vote certainly on the employee, the tenant employee charge. And we need also, I think, to vote on the idea of whether we put a higher daily charge in the front lot than in the back lot.
That makes sense to me.
Well, we'll discuss each of these separately. Is there anything else we need, Mr. Rafter, do you think, to vote on specifically, or can we?
I'm just puzzled why we're I understand discussing them individually, but I think we need to establish a single rate structure that we can give to the operators.
We do, but I think these are the, if you will, the
Yeah.
contentious issues. The ones where there are perhaps differing opinions. I haven't heard any,
I think they're the three items that you just.
yeah, I haven't heard anything on the other,
Just a reminder to the public, too, that the overnight is no longer $20. It would be down to
14, right?
14
in the front lot and,
and 10 in the back.
10 in the
according to
back, if we're
one
gonna do
schedule,
that.
If that's what you vote on, yeah.
so that's the only distinction I would make between the front and the back lot, is the daily parking.
Well, there's a monthly,
It's a different rate.
the monthly and weekly are also different in the back lot, which makes sense. You know, if you're going to go take a
Front row
two-week
seat.
trip somewhere, you want to
Yeah,
be in the
I-
back lot for
Yeah.
a lower rate.
Yeah, I don't,
You don't need the thing
I
in
don't
the
think we
front.
should even encourage weekly and monthly parking in the front row lot.
I agree.
Yeah, why would we do
I
any
disagree
monthly in the
with
front
that.
lot? Like, that should be a short-term lot. Why would we do a monthly there?
That's, and I'll defer to Mr. Barrett, but I believe that's a revenue generator that people are willing to pay and want to pay to get that priority. It's kind of like extra room in an airplane or front row seats, you know.
Right.
It's a premium.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what.
Well, it is. Mr. Scale, it's put up. Look at the schedule. Would you please look at the schedule?
No, He's saying, I think what he's saying is then higher than what's in here. If you're gonna pay for good seats.
That's right there.
I definitely think there's gotta be a differentiation.
I do
think so,
too. Why don't we go ahead and vote on these pieces of the pie and we'll get.
All right, then the fourth thing we have to vote on is the weekly and monthly rates, front and back lot. Okay? All right, the first one is the number of free hours. Is there a motion?
For 3 hours, I will make a motion for 3 hours to be free.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Is there further discussion?
No.
Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
I vote, the chair votes no. I would frankly would want to see some substantiation of the numbers to believe that many people stay over 2 hours for dinner or other meals before I agree to that, but the commission has spoken. Let's do the employees next. Is there, tenant employees, is there a motion?
Discussion or?
A motion,
So I would make a motion to, it's currently at, as I understand it, the $100. That's,
no, there's no charge now.
there's no fee.
Yes.
So the proposed fee is either 100 or 300?
Per year.
Annually.
Or 10 or 30 per month.
So I would make a motion to go to the lower rate, 10 a month or 100 a year.
I'll second that.
Is there discussion? Did you have something you wanted to discuss?
No, that was it. I wanted to just clarify whether, I wasn't sure if there was a charge now or not.
And this is for all year, it's not for, we've got one proposed for October.
No, these are, I'm sorry, we should have made that clear. The number of free hours is for all, everything's for all year.
Right,
We're
that's what I had
we're not,
Annual.
we're not differentiating. All right, all those in favor of the, well, no, I have to call a roll. Mr. Buscarin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. $100 a year or $10 a month. Okay, then the next one is the higher monthly charges for, weekly and monthly charges for, well, daily, monthly and weekly charges for the front lot than the back lot. Let's do the back lot first, because I think that's a little easier. What is proposed is $10 for greater than 8 hours, $60 a week and $200 a month. Is there a motion on that? Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion pursuant to Dan's numbers.
The back lot, for the back lot. Back lot. So
And also for the corporate contractor, corporate
Well,
rates.
yeah, okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Is there a discussion?
I'll second.
How do you vote, Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. All right, the front lot.
Dan, I'm sorry, could we finish the back lot? Just so we,
Do you want to do the contractor and corporate?
no, the 2 to 4 and 4 to 8, we have to confirm those. We have to get approval to charge that.
You have to do what?
What?
I'm sorry?
Yes, it's true, okay.
2 to 4 hours.
Well, then
4
those are-
and 4 to 8 at 8.
Oh, I see.
These have been confirmed. What I was going to do was then put it all together for a vote. If there hasn't been any discussion on that, so I was going to put that and the contractor
Okay,
corporate
okay.
as part of the overall
Got it.
vote. Basically, we're staying so far with the left hand, the proposed parking draft one proposal.
Okay.
Now, what do we want to do about basically daily, weekly, and monthly parking in the front lot?
Do we have a charge now or not? For
No.
those?
Well,
Oh, just the $20.
the $20 overnight,
20, so that's it,
Yeah.
okay.
I would say you double them all.
double the one down below, double
The
the,
front, you know, if you want to be in the front, then, multipliers are easy. It's also another simple, it's
So
twice
it'd
as
be-
much.
it'd
If
be
you want the prime spot.
it would be $20 a day.
20, yeah,
20,
20, 120, and 400.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that
And can
further?
you restate that?
The proposal for, do you have the chart there, Andrea?
I've got the chart, yes.
Yeah, the proposal, we're all working under draft one now, the left-hand column. The proposal, the motion has been made that greater than 8 hours will be $20, weekly will be $120, and monthly will be $400.
Okay, that's in the short term.
That's in the front lot, yes.
And what
Okay.
about 3 to 8 hours?
That's what we've got to get to when we go back up. We've got to go back up to the top here. All right, is there further discussion on that motion for greater than 8 hours through monthly in the front lot?
No.
Nope.
Mr. Buscarin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Now, we have to look at the rates, both in the front and back lot now, actually, for in excess of 3 hours. Do we have a gradation between 3 and 8 hours, or do we have one charge?
One.
One charge, 3 to 8, for $6. Or,
6 and 12,
well, if we only have one period of time, you only have one rate.
but front and back lot. And then
Well,
you
we're just
stick,
talking the front lot now, I think.
Well, no, we should think about both of them, actually. You're right, we are talking about the front, but, so do you want to make it 12 for 3 to 8 hours
in the front,
in the front?
yep. And then half that,
So 3 to
8 hours will be $12.
8 equals
All right,
greater than
8 hours
8 stays
from-
what?
3 to 8?
3 to 8 is $12.
What's greater than 8? What are we doing for that?
Daily,
That's
that's
the
20.
daily,
Then
that's
you
the
do a daily
20.
rate.
Then you go to
Okay.
20.
Okay.
The back lot, general parking free is 3 hours, and then 3 to 8 is $6.
Right.
be my proposal, is stick to the same ratios. And people know, if you're going away and you're worried about saving some money, you use the back lot. It's
Right.
half as much.
Okay.
I agree. So 3 to 8 would be $6 in the back lot,
Right.
and once you're over 8,
It's the daily
Daily,
rate of
annual daily.
$10,
Daily rate.
the $10 rate. All right, so I think we have this set now. I'm going to read through these and everybody can see if they agree. We're working from the column marked draft 1, 0 to 3 hours, the short term, front section of the main lot, 0 to 3 hours is free. 3 to 8 hours is $12. Greater than 8 hours for a 24-hour period or any portion of thereof is $20. Weekly is $120, and monthly is $400. Then the general parking in the back section of the main lot, 0 to 3 hours is free, 3 to 8 hours is $6. Greater than 8 hours is $10 for any 24-hour period or any portion thereof. Weekly is $60 and monthly is $200. For airport tenant employees, parking in the back lot, the annual fee is $100, the monthly fee is $10. For contractors and corporate, the annual fee is $2,000. The 6-month fee is $1,100, and the monthly fee is $200.
that's in the front lot.
In the back lot.
Back lot
All
only.
Back lot. Those are all in the back lot. They're divided as they're shown on the sheet here. Now, the one thing that is missing from this sheet that we're working off is the resident discount in the wintertime. And that, as I recall, was we would stick with the $20 for 4 days, is it? And make it $40 for a week?
I think that's what, 17?
How does that work with the new operator?
I don't know.
Given that we've already reduced these rates, is that really necessary? Plus, how do we make it work? Right now you gotta come in, part of going with an operator is not having the staff to have to deal with this. If someone's gonna come in to prove residency status, how do they know?
Should we take that up separately from the the other rates?
I'm just throwing it out there, I'm just not sure how, the
Maybe we should
logistics.
just, maybe we should
We can
just,
do that at another time.
well, why don't,
Separate.
well, let's at least discuss it, but let's vote on the rate schedule that I just read off,
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
okay?
I make a motion that we adopt the schedule elicited by our fine chairman, and I would vote aye on that.
Is there a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Is there further discussion? I'd just like to say before we vote that I think this is a reasonable solution. Nobody is totally happy, but I hope nobody's totally unhappy. And I think it will help rationalize our parking situation and make it simpler for everybody.
I just think for
You need to identify yourself.
Jamie Sansberry from the airport. I just think we should possibly consider the monthly, for the back lot and the annual, possibly lowering them a little bit, maybe to encourage more long-term parking for the business.
I'm sorry, I read the wrong ones. They should have been the ones from the parking, the proposal two, right?
Right. 1,500.
Yes, thank you for that. It should have been 1,500 for annual, 875 for 6 months, and 150 per month. So the monthly up above would have to be made 150 as well, right? How would that work?
Well, I also wonder how that works for the operator from the logistics now as another category too.
No, it's not. It's the same as this one. It's just different rates. I'm sorry?
But can we ask Andrea to maybe
Andrea, there's a lot of background noise.
There is?
Yeah. Just stopped. Thank you.
Oh, it's weird. I don't think it's from me.
Well, it just stopped, whatever it was.
I didn't
Okay,
think anything.
all right. Well,
Okay.
thank you for whatever you did.
I believe in terms
Okay.
of this rate, the contractor corporate, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have identified a specific location in the lot for that group of,
People.
that works?
Just, we'll have an area for employees, we'll have an area for the longer-term parking who are entitled to this rate.
Typically, from talking to the airport staff today, the way the corporate contractor rate works is they have to identify that they have a contract with the city or with the airport. Then they apply for the permit that gets them that lower annual
Excuse
rate.
me, I don't believe that's correct.
Well, that's not what we're discussing, Mr. Barrett.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not proposing to continue the discount for contractors who have a contract with the town or the airport. So there would be a space designated in the back for these long-term parking arrangements.
Correct, and they would sign up for that.
But I guess the question is, why should the monthly
Right.
there be any different than it is for anybody else? And I don't think it should be. Yeah.
It's almost like the only other thing that we're looking is, do we establish a 6-month and an annual rate for the back lot?
It
It doesn't really matter if you're a contractor or just Joe Blow that wants to park for a
Right.
year. Right? So
Yeah.
instead of having a contractor
Yeah.
rate, you simply, what we've done is we've established daily, monthly, weekly. Should we also be adding
6 month.
biannual and annual?
Yeah, 6-month and annual, exactly. I think
why
that's
not?
right.
Right?
So we'll leave the monthly at 200, and we will put the annual at 1,500, and the 6-month at 875. Right, Mr. Rafter?
Yep.
Right, Ms. Sansberry?
May I ask for Ms. Sansbury why she felt that rather than over here the
That's what we charge now, and the competition is more in line with what we're proposing.
Okay, great, thank you
I
very
think
much.
this is good.
All right, do I need to run through this again?
No.
Or is everybody comfortable?
The monthly rate is 200.
The monthly rate is 200, the annual fee is 1,500, the 6-month is 875.
Okay.
Right.
All right, we have a motion on the table, I believe?
I'll make a motion to approve the rates just
Yeah,
solicited.
well, I think we did that already, so we were just having comments, and do you accept the changes to your motion?
I do, yeah.
Thank you. How do you vote, Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo? And the chair votes aye. Good. I hope this is something we can all work with and you're comfortable with from an operator standpoint. Shall we talk now about the seasonal discount, or do you want to wait and do it another time? We might as well do it while they're here.
Might as well talk about it
Yeah.
now. I mean,
The proposal was for the same as now, $20 for 4 nights. But before we charged, $70 for a week or something? Now we're proposing $40 for up to 7 nights. The question is, how would that be enforced? It's the rear lot, it's October to May. And I think,
if I may?
yes.
I don't know that it's worth it. We're running these ads in the newspaper for the cost of that.
How many people take advantage of that?
But that was when we were charging $20 a night. Now
Yeah.
we've just cut that in half.
Right.
My thinking is, for the amount of money that we've been spending on those ads in the newspaper, we use that to advertise these lower rates.
Right.
And the discount is already factored into the lower rates,
The overnight.
right?
Right.
You've now dropped a weekly rate to $60. Someone's going away for a week and you're still parking right at the airport and it's $60. That's not too much more than a cab's gonna cost you in both directions
Right.
for the convenience of your own car.
Right.
Okay.
Concur.
So I think, are you making a motion to eliminate the resident discount for the winter season? For the May 15th, October 15th to May 15th?
Well, do we even need to? If we've just adopted a new schedule?
Probably not, you're right, okay. Fair enough. All right, thank you all very much. Thank you for your input, Mr. Scale.
Just say one thing. I'd like to say thanks very much for your open-mindedness, and if you are interested in any way that we can contribute financially to the advertising to promote this, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Crosswinds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And a free breakfast for all of us, right?
Now, you took the ethics course. You took the ethics course.
I think we might be investigated for
My
such things.
muffin won't cost that much.
So lock her up immediately.
Are we going to also talk about now the actual operator contract, or is that?
I think they've asked for some, a couple of changes. I don't know what those changes even are.
I haven't had a chance to review.
So I think, but they're not redlined. What you sent wasn't redlined or anything, was it?
Yeah, it was red line.
Was it? I didn't find
Picked it up
I
on my
couldn't, I
tablet.
didn't pick up the redlining either.
Did I just put it down here?
I had a couple of questions just while they were here, back on not the original, but on the original, which was the exhibit. I just gotta find it again. Because some of the costs. Thanks. Right, so the
This is
exhibit,
my-
the
this
exhibit
is much
C.
better, easier to read than the copy I got.
You're referring to the budget?
Yeah, there was, what Janine just handed out on Exhibit C, page 40, the last page, isn't filled in. But for our last meeting, we had received one that had the numbers filled in.
But
Yeah, that came out of your proposal.
Okay, so out of their proposal. So I had a couple of questions on that Exhibit A.
Go ahead.
Well.
just so you
yeah.
understand too, that's subject to our approval. And
That's-
I would assume there's going to be modification based on the rate structure too. Because that's going to change some of the things as staffing and stuff.
Right, you know, I sort of wonder, some of the other expenses that are listed, why they perhaps are not included with the management fee. And if maybe we couldn't do a little bit better on this. As I see it, one of the things that concerned me out of this was the proposed revenue of 350. My last recollection was that we were more like 270, 280. So perhaps I'm wrong, the business manager, maybe you can, but maybe you think that we're gonna get a little bit more with this refined system. I would rather a conservative estimate that then after year one you adjust as opposed to an adjustment in projected revenue. You know, and I.
You're talking about the budgeting as much as anything else.
Right, I really am, because it's, you know, it gets back to whether or not, you know, what we just did for the parking, for the costs, I think needed to be done no matter what system we go
Right,
with.
right.
Now the question is, we're back to,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
you remind me of something. The effective date of the new rate structure. I think we should identify that.
Ah, yes.
I would recommend upon installation of new equipment.
Well,
And
Right,
how
because
long
we
is
can't
that gonna
enforce it
take?
without the equipment anyway.
well, sure, you could.
You might be able to, but the current system.
well,
would be very
how long
challenging.
after the contract is signed would it take to get the equipment installed?
I think the target date was to have everything in place by July.
July 1.
If we approve the contract tonight?
I mean, tonight or. What we would like is if we can answer all the questions and all that, even if you can't, because we were a little late in getting it back to Janine on our bidding the contract. If we're in agreement that this is the way that the commission wants to go, and the way the airport wants to go, this way the contract, we can order the equipment as long as Mr. Rafter or the commission will give us a letter saying, please proceed. We can get the equipment ordered and get the installation going. If we're just fine tuning, if there aren't any huge issues within the contract.
And remember, we're paying for that equipment, so.
And the airport's paying for that equipment, so even if.
Yeah, but we don't want the equipment without you.
Well, in all fairness, that's a reasonable discussion,
I don't, well, maybe it is.
you know? We're looking at, you know, giving away, not giving away, but sharing our revenue.
Right.
You know, for a system that we're purchasing. And I think that we have to be sure that, you know, the management company, first off, one of the things is when I see blanket other expenses, you know, and all of a sudden, where are the levels of protection from our side that there can't be some, oh, that was an unanticipated additional expense that exceeds, and for the numbers that we're talking about, you know, the balance could get thrown off pretty quick here. I just think we need to have a good hard look at, you know, like I say, what I'm looking at is what was from the price proposal.
Yeah.
And, you know, for example, you have enforcement costs of a monthly fee at $3,600, but you also have the salaries for the people who are doing the enforcement. So I think some of that detail is what I have some questions about.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Barrett, but I believe one is the actual personnel and the other is the system. In other words, you're paying a fee, I believe, for MCS or whatever, the enforcement.
fee.
Just like any other computerized system.
Yeah, the enforcement fee is a monthly fee that's paid for the software, back office software to the Luke 2s and to the enforcement softwares. That's why there's two line items there. When we prepared the budget, we went through the line items that were in the RFP that were identified as reimbursable expenses. I want to assure the commission, all of the expenses that are outlined on here, we provide the airport with a copy of the actual cost of those expenses. We don't mark those up or anything. So you see those costs. Our fee for managing it is $30,000 a year. All the other expenses, the payroll and all that, are our actual costs that we submit to you for reimbursement every month.
So for example, you've got $51,000 as a direct salary, actually then overtime, so you got, say, 55 grand to pay someone. What if you can't get somebody here for that?
Based on the number of hours and based on the, you know, 3 to 6 hours, depending on the seasonality of it. The 3 hours in the off season is what we're envisioning that it's going to take labor-wise, local, to do the enforcement of the lots for the 20 to 30 cars that are out there. And then 6 hours a day in the peak season to do the enforcement when the lots are full. We built in, and I think in the proposal we put in there, our hourly wage rate that we believe we can. If I determine, and we've had an interview already with a gentleman who is interested in the position, a local person who's here in Nantucket. If for some reason I can't, and Tom was very clear, we need to make sure, to all the proposers, you need to make sure that you're not putting in Massachusetts state minimum wage, because that's not going to fly here. So we put in a much, much higher rate than we typically would for an enforcement officer or a supervisor of this type of facility.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And the credit card processing fees, that seems high to me, but I have no clue about credit cards. About 8,600, if I'm looking at it right? I mean,
Well, it's probably, what, 2%, 2.5% of,
We take the total revenue, and the predominant amount of customers that use this type of system pay with a credit card. So we would have taken, in our formula calculation, we would have probably taken $350,000, multiplied that by 90%, because 90% of that revenue is going to be through credit cards. And then we multiply either between usually about 2.5% for the credit card processing
Right.
fees. If it's less than that, then it's less than that, because once again, When we send the monthly statement in that says this is what the credit card fees were, you see that, or they're deducted straight from your bank account, much like they are right now with the existing system.
I think, do you have more questions?
I guess my only other comment then would be, shouldn't we have council review this redlined draft?
Yeah, I would like to review it too. I just went through it quickly.
No,
But I also would like to
I don't
see-
think
I would
we're
like to
ready to
have-
vote on it tonight.
But I would
Yeah.
also, hope that we would have, preferably David have a look at this.
Yeah, well, we started with the other, so we'll have to see which way we go.
Well,
Yeah.
that's,
But
That has been
we don't, yeah. Well,
a contentious issue.
Right. My concern is about the maintenance of this equipment. And I noticed that one of the additions to this was that you don't provide any warranties for the equipment, so presumably it's only the manufacturer's warranties that apply. But how are we protected from the standpoint of, the issue we've had with this present system is it's down a lot. We don't get revenues. And we don't want to be put in that position again. So if something goes wrong with this equipment, who's going to fix it and how quickly?
And they're required to have a maintenance plan with stocks, parts and everything.
Right.
Yeah, the equipment comes with a 1-year warranty, and that was one of the things that we wanted to point out, is beyond that 1 year, and these machines last, 10, 15 years, depending on their environment. Here, I would factor in that it's probably going to be a little less than the 10 or 15 years that the manufacturer's saying. Over the course of that enforcement and that Luke 2 processing fee, that includes all the software and all the updates to it. 99% of the issues that we see with these machines are software related, and they remote in and they fix those problems remotely. Otherwise, it's a matter of pulling a credit card reader out, not having to have Scheiden Bachman or somebody come down on a boat, pulling it out because it's 2 screws and a cable, and putting another one in. So.
Would that be your person, or would it be?
No, that would be our person. The parking business, under this contract, the airport is out of the parking business.
Right. Okay.
Now, I think you had brought up a question as to, how does this relate into what the airport's paying? What Tom's staff is encumbering right now as far as time and energy towards the parking. I really can't speak to that because I don't know how much time Robbie and Linda are spending on the parking. It seems like a significant amount of time from what I've seen.
I can't quantify it, but it's more than 2 people. It's the operations staff, the maintenance staff, the FBO staff, and our receptionist, as well as others in the office who have been trained to reboot the system. It's countless and excessive amount of hours that are spent just to try to keep the system running.
yeah, I don't doubt that with the existing system. I mean, I've been ready to boot that for a while, but,
Not reboot it.
no.
All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Is there any problem terminating our old contract? In other words, our old
We don't have a
contract?
contract. We own the equipment, and we're it.
So we took over this system and we're operating it, and now they're going to do all that.
Well, they never did operate it, right? We've always
The
operated
airport
it.
has always operated.
Okay.
And I'm sure the old equipment is very valuable, right? Resale?
Salvage.
All right. I think we need to run this by council, and so we will put it on the agenda to act next time. I'm not going to ask you to come back, but would you make yourself available by telephone for that session, please, on Thursday, the 11th, at around 6-ish our time? That'd be great.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. We look
Does
forward.
deferring this for another 20 days, does that impact your schedule, getting the equipment here July 1st? Okay.
You can't vote on it. You can't vote on it until that next
Right.
commission meeting. That's fine.
Yeah.
I would assume that if
I don't think we can give you a letter
if legal counsel reviews the changes, and the changes that we made are more syntax changes. There's a few other things in there that I referred to Janine with
Right.
earlier today, that if, we still have, if there's something in there that's just going to delay the whole process, we can probably rescind that change that we had requested, depending on what it is. We didn't change the indemnification language, which is usually a hot button issue with attorneys. That all stays the same. The reimbursement schedule stays the same. I think we added in a line in there about PCI compliance, which is credit card industry compliance,
Right.
just to clarify how that process works. So, I mean, what if legal counsel reviews it and says it's fine, and they're in agreement and we're in agreement, and then we just have to wait for you to vote, with the approval of the commission, if we could get a letter that says, because, we have to get Tom the line-by-line cost items of all the equipment, we can order that and get that proceeded. If not, we can wait till the May 11th.
I think we should wait. I'd be more comfortable if we waited. Unfortunately, I think that we should do it all at once.
Is our lawyer going to be able to give us performance in the next 20 days?
Well, I think that's something Mr. Rafter and I have to talk about.
Okay.
Do we do,
I mean, the question is do we get the lawyer who's already been back involved with that risk, or do we pay, get up the curve charge to another lawyer to
yes.
look at this?
I would strongly suggest going with the aviation attorney.
Yeah, I would
my-
support that too. I
that's-
think, if you get somebody that's bright and shiny and has a good cup of coffee, they can get through this in about 3 hours, mark it up, and it shouldn't be too big a deal.
His level of responsiveness has
Yeah.
been incredible.
Yeah. And the other one has not.
Let's go with Mackie on
Okay.
that.
I'm wondering if, just thinking about the timing on all of this, and that the next meeting isn't until, what is it now?
The
45th?
11th of
the
May.
11th of May.
Oh, 11th, I'm sorry. I thought we had,
Yeah.
okay, no, that's fine then. It
It's
was-
Thursday, the
days down the
11th. It's
road.
only
Yeah,
2 days.
right, yeah,
2
yeah,
days
okay.
difference. So it's about 3 weeks from now.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Hope you enjoyed your visit to Nantucket. And their wonderful summer weather.
Yes, spring weather.
All right, moving along. Is there public comment at this time on anything that's not in the agenda? Hearing none. Pending matters, Mr. Rafter, formerly used defense site status?
NOAA reached out to the Army Corps last week, and they led us to believe that their response should be out very shortly. So we're not holding our breath, but we expect to get
Heard that
that
before.
momentarily.
All right. The general fund repayment proposal, I assume that the answer's the same there.
Well, we reached out to FAA to find out, and we haven't heard no response yet where that stands, so,
All right. In the meantime, we're budgeting for it and paying it, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thompson House closing.
In your packet, I believe, are
No, actually, it was a
Handout.
revised documents. There's a summary in your packet about what needs to be done. The commission formally, or previously, voted to authorize the airport manager to execute the documents, but the land bank preferred to have it approved by the commission, so.
So I think I will have,
Take a motion?
yeah, but I think I better read it, because it's not, this is a record of a vote, but the motion will be to, A, to approve that certain settlement agreement and mutual release, the agreement, and all forms attached thereto concerning the commission's acceptance of a release deed from the Valerie Sweat, trustee of the New Beach Realty Trust, holding title to the property for the Nantucket Land Bank, in substantially the form presented to the commission at its April 20th, 2017 meeting. It's in the packet. Meeting with final changes in the reasonable discretion of the commission in consultation with council. The agreement to be executed by the commission once confirmation that the Nantucket Land Bank has voted to approve the agreement. B, to authorize the commissioners to take all actions on behalf of the commission that are reasonably necessary to complete the conveyance of the property in accordance with the agreement, including without limitation executing the agreement, accepting the release deed, and signing any other closing forms, closing documents, conservation restrictions, and easements as described in the agreement. C, to authorize the airport manager to execute and file the required land bank forms, including without limitation Form 1 and Form A, and substantially the form presented to the commission in its April 20th, 2017 meeting, with such changes as are necessary in the airport's manager's reasonable discretion in consultation with council. Somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Is there further discussion? How do you vote, Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Mr. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I believe we skipped over the pending leases and contracts.
Yeah.
I have it out of order on mine, too. I apologize.
No, the pending leases and contracts are next on my agenda.
Okay, that's the way I have it, too.
Number 3 on mine.
They're number 6 on this one.
Well, it changed the new.
Which one? I don't know which one. Which
Either way, let's just do it.
Okay.
It's number 6 on the both of the ones I have. All right, so we're done with the Thompson House, right? We've got everything we need?
We own it again.
No, well, not yet. We haven't, nobody's signed the papers, but, all right, leases and contracts, we got a bunch of them.
Yes, we have a number of those. The first is Retrix Aviation for their terminal and airline agreement, $32,280 plus $1,500 business fee and landing and freight fees. Next is a lease agreement with Hyannis Air Service, Cape Air/Nantucket Airlines, $96,480. It's a terminal airline lease again, $1,500 business fee and landing and freight. The next 4 are the seasonal airline operators, and I have had a discussion with Mr. Mackey in trying to figure a way out to compel these folks to sign the agreement. And he indicated that we can deny them access to our facility, or we cannot deny them access, landing right access, but we can to the facilities. I've placed a call to at least one of those. We sent letters out.
Not the ones listed here.
To the 4 of those. We've sent letters out. We're going to be calling them again and just kind of imploring them to sign this agreement and get ready to operate for the season. So they're the ones that are pending there. The GSA is for TSA, 1-year lease through May of 2018.
Is there an rent increase involved in that?
I don't believe so.
What did you say the figure was, please, Mr. Armstrong?
I'm sorry?
What did you say the figure was for them?
That was
51,000.
Okay, I thought you said, oh, all right, very good, thank you.
Next is a license agreement with Wiggins Airways. That's for air freight services for UPS and FedEx. It's $1,500 business fee plus landing and freight fees. Next is Nantucket Express license agreement. It's a charter service. It's $1,500 business fee plus landing and ramp. The next is the Yak Surf School, $1,500 business fee. It's a license agreement. Contract with Zeppelin Concrete Design. That's for polishing the terrazzo floors in the terminal. That's for $10,689. We discussed Republic. We'll come back to that next month. Next is a contract with Blackwell and Associates, a 3-year on-call for surveying services not to exceed $50,000 over the 3 years. And next is a contract with McFarland Johnson for on-call engineering services, price to be determined based on task orders. They submit us proposals, we negotiate it, and then it's based on the task. And we have Jacobs is pending. We just received some minor changes today on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to recuse on the surveying contract just to avoid any appearance of conflict.
All right, why don't we take that one separately then? And we'll, is there a motion to approve all the contracts except the contract with Blackwell and Associates?
I'll make that
And the
motion.
contracts and lease agreements and
Second.
license agreements? Any discussion? Mr. Buscarin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Would you step away from the table, please, then, if you're going to excuse yourself? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the contract with Blackwell and Associates?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Buscarin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. All right. Hangar 1.
We have a request for termination of the lease and the associated documents that we received, and we have a appraisal has been ordered for the property.
So as far as we know, it's all in order to move forward with FedEx.
That's my understanding, yes. Yep,
And the appraisal is pending.
correct.
Thank you. Any questions?
No,
Air service update?
we're working on a number of proposals. We've engaged the services of a consultant to develop some proposals. We have meetings with 8 to 10 airlines at what I call the speed dating for airlines at Jumpstart in Providence, to be held early June. We've also been contacted by Elite Airlines about the potential of flying between Nantucket and Westchester. They operate regional jets. And the Cape and Islands Airports Group is putting the consolidated proposal on hold and looking at alternative approaches to air service development for a regional approach. So, but we are working collectively with the development of presentations at this Jumpstart meeting for a regional approach as well as our individuals. So I'll be meeting with airlines to discuss Nantucket service, but I will also be working with Hyannis on some of the regional approaches and approaching some of the airlines collectively.
Questions? Thank you. Declarations of surplus property. We have 2.
Yes, for Bunker Road, potential solar site, and the airport terminal concession required under Mass General Law 30B.
The first one is the approximately 15 acres of real estate in what is known as the bunker area of the airport. This is the site that we are in discussions with.
Yes, we have worked with the town and issued a request for proposals for a land lease for solar development.
As you all know, we've tried to do this ourselves, but have not been successful. But there's some interest from third parties in the idea of doing it, and so hopefully it will come to pass. Let's vote on that one first. Is there a motion to declare the parcel on in the bunker area of the airport of 15 plus or minus acres as declared as surplus property? The property has recently received a fair market rental opinion of $2.00 per square foot. Any
motion.
proposed lease will have to be approved by the commission.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The second is for the concession space in the main terminal for the gift shop
Retail opportunity.
Why does this have to be done now? Why, is it never done before? Is it done every time it's leased? Ah, okay. And the property has been recently appraised with the rental value of $30.00 per square foot. Is there a motion to approve that declaration of surplus property?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. You have a question, Mrs. Topham?
I do.
Well, why don't you second it, and then you can ask your question.
Second.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, it says $30.00, but it's printed $37, and I apologize for not having got that earlier. Number 2.
It's not, it's been appraised at 30, but we're asking 37.
Oh, okay, sorry. I take it back.
Anything else? How do you vote, Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Confusing.
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Mr. Chairman, one comment.
Yes.
Did we need to vote on the termination of the lease?
Technically, you did it the last.
Okay, so, all right, thank you. Sorry, okay, thanks.
You wanted to reaffirm it.
No, I wasn't sure if it, thanks.
Airport business plan concept?
I've asked to put that on hold till the next meeting. Yeah,
Oh, right.
we're working off the same one.
So I have two of the same thing.
You don't have one that's dated 4/20?
No.
It's fairly lengthy, so I didn't want to.
Okay.
Came from May.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the airport manager contract discussion. I would like to at least spend a few minutes on, I know it's getting late, but I'd like to spend a few minutes on it because I think that, I'd like to move forward with this, reasonably quickly, although there's not any great rush. I will explain that the reason where some commissioners have questioned why this is not being done in executive session, and I guess technically the discussions could be had in executive session, but the agreement would have to be ratified in open session, and given the circumstances of the last airport manager contract that this commission agreed to, I felt it was better to have the whole thing done out in the open.
May I clarify that it was not this commission as we all are sitting here that ratified the previous?
That's correct, fair point, but still, I consider it a shadow, an overhang. So, basically, we were told, as some of you will recall, probably just one of you actually, at the time we hired Mr. Rafter, that we were advised by town council at the time that there was no provision in Mass General Law allowing an airport manager to have a contract. When you go online and look up airport managers' contracts, they are all over the place in the Commonwealth. And the former head of the MassDOT Aviation Division, who had been an airport manager, he'd had a contract. It was all very mysterious. But anyway, times have changed, and Mr. Rafter and I had a discussion about the advisability of his having a contract, as all the senior town officials do, and it seemed like a good thing to do. The genesis of this document was that Mr. Rafter pieced it together from various other contracts from the town managers and others, and so it has not yet been reviewed by council, and it obviously will have to be reviewed by council before it is put up for final approval. But I wanted to have the discussion. There are a couple of things in it that need to be pointed out. First of all, the salary provision is Mr. Rafter's current salary, provides that he gets increases consistent with what the airport administration staff salary increases are in the future. The commission is authorized but is not obligated to provide an additional increase in salary or a one-time bonus if it wants to, but there is no requirement that it do so. We have done it a couple of times during Mr. Rafter's tenure, although not in the last couple of years. The two other major points, two other points concerning compensation are there is a provision in here for a $1,500 per month housing allowance. This is trying to be very transparent. There are other arrangements with other senior town officials who have housing, and it's not clear what their deals are, so to speak. And we're trying to be very, very open about this. The other provision in here in
Could you please give the number of the page, please?
This is on page 5.
Thank you.
Paragraph 5.4, and the other one I want to point out is 5.6, which is for an annual payment of $3,000 into a qualified deferred compensation plan that Mr. Rafter would designate. These are all up for discussion. And in terms of severance, the other, this is starting on Article 6. If he is terminated without cause, and of course, there's always a question of what is cause and what isn't cause, but if he is terminated without cause, without cause, basically, he gets a month's salary for every year of service up through 10 years, and after 10 years, this provides he would get a year's worth of salary. So those are the general, those are the key provisions here. And I thought we should just get the sense of whether the commission is agreeable to these, wants to change them, before we give this to the lawyer to put in final form.
Well, I have a question. When I was on the town government study group, they said they didn't have 3-year terms, but it seems that everyone, they have a 3-year term, and so they're in their second year, and now they do it for 3 years, so it's a consecutive. Is this a separate 3-year, and every 3 years we vote on it?
Yes.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yes.
Because we got some bad eggs that way.
Does everybody in the town get 5 weeks vacation? Seems very, very nice.
Senior people do.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think some employees do it, not just.
Well, I understand Tom's family doesn't live on the island, so that, if I were Tom, I'd be arguing
Right.
5 weeks is not enough, but I think 5 weeks is good. I'm in general accord with the idea of a contract, and the provisions of it seem within the ambit of reasonableness, so I'd have the lawyer take a look at it, give us his comment, and move forward with it.
Mr. Gustavero?
I guess I just have, I have a bit of a problem with the housing separate bonus as opposed to just being part of a salary. So it's almost a policy decision that I think we need to discuss and decide on. Because where do we start to draw the line with the next employee?
Well, the provision with him is that if he moves into airport housing, it's either renegotiated or goes away. That may not answer your question.
Well, I guess as I see this, and it's certainly a no slate. I think Tom does an excellent job. So this is, I just think that it has to be discussed if we're about to increase salary, as I see it, by $21,000 a year in this contract, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Well, certainly the 3,000 I would put in that category. It is an increase in compensation. The 1,500 is a month. You can argue it both ways.
Yeah.
I think, it's a cost of getting or retaining somebody on this island. And, the town has a lot of positions it hasn't been able to fill because people can't find housing. Or, as we know, some of the senior people have been living off island. And that would not be satisfactory in Mr. Rafter's case. And as a tenant, he's subject to the whims of the market.
I would say my bigger fear or concern, of course, is a successor, that then this becomes the new standard. And I think that's what we have to think about as well. That if we have to hire somebody, now
Yeah,
perhaps in that having gone through that process, that was obviously probably one of the biggest questions and limitations.
The other side of it is that I don't know what employee benefits are based on salary and whether there are caps. In other words, is the pension, if we put the $1,500 a month in, maybe, Ms. Sansbury, you know the answer to this. If we put it into his salary, would that have an impact, for example, on his pension?
I would assume it's base salary, it's based on the base.
Yeah, but there may be a cap, I don't know whether there's a cap or not. Yeah, we should find out, but,
If I may too, Arthur, to your point, one of my goals is to have a house for my successor. Hopefully, I'm still here, being able to move in one, but certainly by the time I leave, to have it set up and ready to go.
Now, I know we're working on it. Again, I'm not necessarily opposed. I just think that it needs to be part of the open discussion.
yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I won't be surprised if there's,
Pushback?
hear more about this.
Pushback, yeah. Well, I'm going to send this to the town manager. I'm not going
Talking like an
to wait till she
$18,000,
finds out
right?
by the back door.
You know, and maybe we need to find out who else in the town receives anything like this.
I think, if we can.
When I was on the compensation, I might still have some of that information of different.
But I think it's changed,
contracts.
I think it's changed quite a bit in the last, and a lot of it's not in the contract. You know, again, I think it's important to be fully transparent about this.
Right.
And so,
I guess that's what gets to my point is, is it better to simply adjust the salary and not have it out there that, and you pay, a certain thing for a certain thing, a certain amount. Now, I see your point, and I like the point that we're working on a housing plan, and this actually would then go away. So I'm not, that probably makes it the better way, given where we're trying to go. Versus if you give it to the salary, you never get it back.
right.
I guess I talked myself through it with all of you.
You're going to be okay, Arthur.
Andrea, do you have any comments? Excuse me. Andrea?
Oh, sorry, it was on mute. I had to find the mute button. I don't have any comments.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I will then ask Mr. Rafter to get this, Mr. Mackey's office to look at this and bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay.
And there might be a way to find out where other, I know the unions will know, like the fire and the police department will know whether the chiefs are getting some compensation, how it's handled. Because I do have all of that, but it's old news
Right.
at home. It's not that I don't want you to have it, Mr. Rafter.
Are the, well, it doesn't matter. We'll do our best to get it. Thank you. Your report, Mr. Rafter.
The air traffic control tower, we need the commission to ratify change order number 8, which is in your packet, I believe. This should be the final change order, and Janine, have we received the final invoice for air traffic?
Yes and no.
Okay. We're getting very close on that one too, but
I would make a motion to approve PCO number 8 for the amount of $5,899.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any comments or questions? How do you vote, Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo? Chair votes aye.
next we have the vault replacement project has encountered some engineering issues. That's been delayed and completion is expected early June. The interactive employee training system is operational for the security identification display area training as well as non-movement area driver training, working through some minor glitches. And staff is working on approving the Part 139 modules, which will allow us to do training for our operations staff. I have to double check on the update on the flight information display system in PA. They were to begin work this week. I apologize, I'm on vacation. What I've read in emails, they have started. So they're installing the FID screens in the existing locations. They're working with, trying to get a local electrician to come in, and then they'll be doing the PA install as well as the new FID screens. I'm working with legal counsel on our snow equipment. We've had some challenges and issues with a brand-new piece of equipment there. The security camera project has been installed and is operational by the state gave us. It's very helpful. Ramp Phase 3 pre-bid meeting was held on the 18th, and bids are due April 26th. On the geometry issue of the intersection of runway 1230 and 624, we received a proposal from McFarland Johnson, and it's right in line with the independent fee estimate, so we're proceeding ahead with that project and the grant application. The
Does
housing...
that have to be in by
May 1.
May 1?
Yes. Noblier Farm Road Development Housing had a meeting on the 21st with FAA. We had a subsequent meeting with Andrew Vorse and the surveyor to incorporate FAA's comments. And just an update, the town RFP is out, and I don't think I have the correct date for when it was due back. I think it's been pushed back about 30 days just to avoid some challenges. So working on finalizing the survey, we'll then get the FAA the final piece to land release, and then begin discussion on the actual working with the town's consultant in Tucker, Holland, to look at the numbers to ensure it's a viable project. On the RFP side, the airport gas RFP is out. Proposals are due in May 12th. The terminal concession retail has been advertised. Proposals are due May 15th. As we discussed earlier, the solar land lease, the RFP is out. Proposals are due in May 22nd. Sun Island Road RFPs will go out after the Bunker Road is developed, and it's currently under review. On the operations side, the Thompson House efforts, I have to commend our staff. The maintenance crew has done a tremendous job. For those of you who've ever been to the Thompson House, if you walk in now, it really has significantly changed. All new flooring, new cabinets, new sink, new countertop, new appliances. It really looks good, and a number of staff members have gone out and done a lot of cleaning. We're working with a professional cleaner. Some of our folks are putting in some time to paint it. It's really coming along very nicely, and we're going to be putting a little bit into it.
Are we going to have anybody to live there?
We don't have enough room. We have all the beds full, and we're probably short 2 or 3. This year, and I'll jump a little bit around here, seasonal staff, we have a contingent of folks coming up from Puerto Rico that already work at an airport, have aviation experience, and will most likely be able to stay beyond the August 15th into September. So that's going to be very helpful. Blade, we had to reaffirm our not approving their second-year sublease, and we did that, I think, as concisely as we could. The advertising, our consultant was on site last week. A number of different opportunities we're working on, and she's developed a very good program that should increase some of our revenue as well. Just some dates to remember for the commission. Our triennial exercise is September 13th. Our tabletop is scheduled for May 15th. Our certification inspection is coming up on us. It's April 26th through 28th, and that leads right into Daffodil Weekend, which is April 28th through 30th. Just some updates on some legislative efforts. On the TSA law enforcement reimbursement, we've sent letters to our congressional delegation as well as for that reimbursement and the baggage belt reimbursement. Nationally, there's talk of the law enforcement reimbursement going away, so we're encouraging our congressman to sign onto a letter. When Congressman Keating was on island last week, I met with he and his aide and presented them with a letter of support and asked for them to support that. Also, at that same time frame, Dylan Fernandez, our new local representative, was on island, and I had a discussion with him about the competing interests with solar and threatened and endangered species, as well as the transportation providers, the Uber law, and some of the fix that we need to get done there. And I'm going to be getting some language from our attorney that I'll be sending on to Dylan and asking him to support that legislative change. Any questions before we go to statistics? Okay, the operations are up almost 14% for the month. They're down about 0.35 for the year, so they're leveling out. The employments were up for February, 8.4%, but year-to-date still down 11.1. We're starting to see some of the comeback a little bit of what Retrix is doing. And you can see here, Retrix carried 106 they had 106 operations with 433 passengers. Cape Air is up. The Boston service, Davey, okay, slow down. We'll go to Boston next, okay? The Boston market, Cape Air employments are up 33%. New Bedford was down 44%. Hyannis, Cape Air was down 58 from 26 to 11. Nantucket Airlines down 34% from 786 employments, however, or with 786, and Retrix carried 433 in that market. So again, they're starting to recover some of that, but we're still seeing a drop in the Hyannis market. The Jet A gallons for February were down 15.4, which is about 1,900 gallons, and for the month, they're up, for the month and up 1.45 year-to-date. March, they're down 15.5% or about 2,400 gallons. Avgas continues to climb. It's up 31% for February and year-to-date up almost 11%. And for March, slight drop in the Avgas, 4.89%. Freight is up 12.14% over last February and down 30% year-to-date. I have a different number. And again, we added this slide in the last presentation that shows where the increases and decreases are in freight. Cape Air's freight is down. The Postal Service over the mail that Cape Air flies is up 5%. FedEx Wiggins up 23%, and UPS Wiggins is up 40%. And there was one noise complaint versus 0 last year, and that one was a MedFlip.
Questions?
One other,
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the personnel, we have a new FBO staff member began work last week. Her name is Rika. She goes by Rika. I can't pronounce her full name. So she started and she's in training. And as I was saying earlier, we have a contingent from Puerto Rico coming up. We do have a number of openings, and word of mouth is the best thing. I think we're still looking for 3 security gate guards. We're looking for a maintenance seasonal. And I think our operational staff, we may have enough there, I'm not sure. But again, we're now facing another issue, and that's the housing. Both with the longer term, if we keep these people in longer that we would like to, that house is only probably good through October. So we're still working on an internship program as well, and I believe Preston was going to be interviewing 2 students from Vaughn College out of New York, which is an aviation school. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rafter?
No?
Are there any commissioners' comments? The only thing I would ask is that if you would possibly put the new parking rates on a single sheet of paper without any other notes or anything else so that they're available if people want them. Thank you. All right. Is there public comment at this time? Hearing none. Do we need to have an executive session? I guess we do technically.
Technically, at least
In the minutes. Do we need to discuss?
Yeah, we have one
one thing. I mean, we've got a bunch of contracts to sign, right?
There's two actually, the land and there's,
All right, well, sorry, but I think we better,
there'll be three.
yeah, we better do these contracts and then,
So I would make a motion to go into executive session, not to return to open session for the purposes enumerated on the agenda.
Second?
how do you vote, Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
How do you vote,
Aye.
Mrs. Topham? Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Gasparo? And the chair votes aye.